Waaagh? You already had Waaagh.
What about second Waaagh?
Second Waaagh? Second Waaagh.
Waaagh!
Waaagh! Welcome back to the Red Ones Go Fast. Old Big Mek here, and in this episode we are talking about the new Bully Boyz Detachment from the 10th Edition Orks Codex. Let's get into it! Alright, before we get too far into it, you saw me Grot and me other best Grot wearing Old Big Mek's merch, and of course we have adult sizes too in the original Red Ones Go Fasta, and of course in Red Squig. So link down in the description below if you want to get your hands on some merch. Alright, so let's get into it. For those of you that have been living under a rock or just, getting started out with Warhammer 40,000, which is actually a lot of you. I think it was somewhere around 60% of viewers on this channel have only been into 40K within the last 2 years. So welcome, everybody, to the Waaagh. But what I'm talking about is detachments. How it works is when you're mustering your army from the Codex, you have to pick a detachment to put all of your forces into, right? All of your squads, your characters, things like that. And the different detachments have different special rules. Now, we had been playing under what was called the Index, and the Index was when 10th edition launched, all of the old codexes got deleted, and everybody just had one Index detachment to start with. Which made for a nice fair playing field, but now as codexes are coming out, every codex has multiple detachments. Now, some of the detachments, the actual detachment rule isn't the greatest, and we'll actually be talking about one of those in an upcoming video, but in some of them it absolutely is, and Bully Boyz is one of them. So Bully Boyz detachment rule is, at the start of a battle round in which you have not called a Waaagh, if you have one or more war boss on the battlefield, or embarked within a transport. And it's nice that they actually put that clarification right in the detachment rule, because that's the kind of thing that they've been leaving out of certain things and then having to come back and FAQ in and do rules around and things like that. So, nice. You can call a Waaagh for a second time this battle. When doing so, that second Waaagh only counts as having been called for Warboss, Knobs, and Mega Knobs. Now, sounds pretty simple on the surface, right? Okay, so I take a lot of Warbosses and Knobs and put them together in squads and a Mega Knob squad, and I'm good to go. Ha 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 ha. No, my friend, you need to be much more cunning than that. See, first of all, you want to look through all of the data sheets at down here, the keywords, okay? You notice that Ghazghkull Thraka here actually has the keyword Warboss right on it, okay? So that means Gaz would actually get a second Waaagh as well. And he's not the only one. Obviously, Warboss, and Mega Armor. But Deffkilla Wartrike here is also a Warboss. Keep thinking about that. And he is far from the only character like that. Your Beast Boss and Beast Boss on Squigosaur also feature the Warboss keyword there and in there. So there's a lot of character options that are open to you. You're thinking, okay, great. So I just load up on lots of characters, but they're going to run around by themselves and get whacked, right? Like, don't they need to join squads and lead them? Absolutely. And here's where being cunning comes into play. You see, in the Warhammer 40,000 core rules for 10th edition, any leader that has a keyword that joins a squad shares his keywords with the whole squad, and vice versa. Any keywords in the squad get shared with the leader. So that means that Deffkilla Wartrike we just talked about can lead his squad of war bikers, and in doing so, all of the war bikers also get that keyword Warboss and are eligible for the second Waaagh. And the story is the same for your Beast Boss and your Beast Boss on Squigosaur. You want to lead the Squighog boys into a second Waaagh? You can. You want to lead a squad of Beast Naga boys? You can. You want your regular Warboss to lead a squad of regular boys? You can. Alright, so now that we've established that there's ways to pass these keywords off and get more of your units into a second Waaagh, what's so good about a second Waaagh anyway? And as an aside, don't at me for saying the G. Everybody knows that orcs from south of the galactic equator pronounce the G. Get over it. All right. Anyways, when you call the Waaagh for your orc army, your entire army gets an advantage, okay? You get to advance and charge, which is the biggest thing about it, right? It's getting up into combat, making contact with the enemy army so that you can crump all the things that DACA and win the game. On that attack, you also get +1 strength and +1 attack on all of your melee weapons, and then your whole army has a 5-up and vulnerable. So obviously, this is really strong, right? The turn that orcs do the Waaagh is the strongest turn. That's when you're going to make contact with everyone. That's when you're really going to smash out the hits. That's when you're going to absolutely crash into the enemy army and destroy them. So obviously getting a second round of that is really, really powerful. So GW has tried to make it where it's only certain units, and this is actually an expansion on what we had in a little bit of 8th and 9th edition with the Knob with Waaagh banner. He was able to call a second Waaagh on the unit he was in, and so the really popular thing to do was put him and a war boss in a Tony Boy unit, and they could go to town a second time, and that was really powerful. But being one unit, it wasn't this OP thing. With this detachment being all war bosses, all knobs, and all mega knobs, there's a lot going on here that can get into that Waaagh. And that's what we're specifically going to talk about is now that we know all of these rules and we have all this information, let's get kunnin and let's build some lists. All right, the first and most obvious thing, and this is the thing that I've seen everybody doing online so far, is a war boss with mega armor, and you give him the teleporta enhancement so that he gives deep strike to his unit so they can come in from reserves. That is a complete waste of points. Stop doing it. I'm going to tell you why. Okay, first of all, again, you got to go back to the core rules. You have to read the core rules. You have to know them inside and out for 10th edition in order to understand all these interactions. While yes, deep striking is good, and in the core rules, there is nothing saying that you cannot deep strike in first turn, unlike strategic reserves that can only come in starting on the second turn. The problem with that is, right now, the only actual missions that we have are from the Leviathan mission deck that came out last summer. The Leviathan mission deck automatically, in its core rules, states that there are no reserves allowed to come in turn 1, including deep strike. So if you're playing any of the actual missions for 10th edition or going to a grand tournament, you can't do it anyway. So you are wasting 20 points on this enhancement so that you could deep strike a unit when for free you could just put it into strategic reserves anyway, because you could do that for up to 25% of your army no matter what. Again, read the core rules. So no point in taking teleporta at this moment in time until we get a mission pack that allows it. And frankly, I don't think that's going to happen because back when turn 1 alpha strikes were a thing, it was way too OP, and I think that that's just never coming back. So, I mean, again, as of right now, you can't deep strike first turn anyway. There's no point in spending 20 points on this enhancement that does literally nothing. So take that one, crumple it up, throw it away. All right, if you still want to take a war boss with mega armor and lead some mega knobs, you can. I think it's going to be a lot of points tied up into one squad, and he can't keep them alive the way that a Big Mek can. If it was me and I was going to run mega knobs, which I might, but not in my ideal list. If I was going to run mega knobs, I'd actually run them with a Big Mek in mega armor so that they can have, some protection and have an ability to bring some of them back to life and things of that nature. So, moving on, let's talk about Beast Boss. The Beast Boss on foot and the War Boss, regular old War Boss, there is the Big Gob. And the Big Gob is an enhancement that when you get within engagement range, you can make an enemy unit take a battle shock test, and if they fail it, they're battle shocked. It doesn't seem that strong on the surface of it, right? I mean, battle shock seems to be kind of a misnomer thing anyway. It doesn't really affect things the way that leadership used to. There are two big things that battle shock does do. It prevents the battle shock unit from having any objective control. So if you're playing tournaments, if you are playing to win missions, if you are trying to control objectives, that is big. The other thing they do that's sneakily cunning is that battle shocked units cannot be targeted by stratagems. Okay, again, core rules, this is important. So if you're coming up to a unit and you absolutely got to kill it, and you don't want your enemy to put any kind of stratagem on it to like, you know, use some command points and get some rerolls or some buffs or transhuman physiology or anything like that, then the Big Gob is a sneakily cunning way of trying to make that happen. But it's not guaranteed. Take it or leave it. All right. The last one I want to kind of talk about in hypothetical is the new Big Mek, the one that comes in the Stompa box. I don't think he's the best choice, but if you're a really cunning war boss and you're really good at moving your models around, I could see some playability on him with his new Shock Booster. On the Shock Booster, you can advance through terrain, basically ignoring it. You just shoot right through things. And so if you stuck him in a unit of knobs, and they advanced through the terrain, and then they were able to charge on their first or their second Waaagh, that could be a sneaky way of, like, you know, an opponent thinks they've got you cornered in there, you know, they've got a unit safe behind, you know, some runes or something that you can't get through, and pow, next thing you know, there's a bunch of mad orcs up in your face. That could be a good one. All right, my favorite interaction of all of this is actually to run regular old knobs and just take lots of them with a Pain Boy. And there's a very specific reason for the Pain Boy instead of the War Boss. When you run a War Boss with the knobs, you get to subtract 1 on an incoming hit roll or something like that. It's okay, but it's not great. When you have the Pain Boy, the whole squad gets a 5-up Feel No Pain, and he can run his little grot guy that you can bring D3 of them back to life. So the survivability of the squad is much better with the Pain Boy than with the War Boss. So that's kind of my favorite interaction to do with this in order to make sure your knob squads survive and get into contact with the enemy. All right, so we've talked about the detachment and the detachment rules. We've talked about the different units and leaders and characters and how they all interact with each other. It's now time to develop our list. Now, a really big, important thing to think about when you are list building is how the whole list interacts with what you are doing. And one big drawback of the Bully Boyz Detachment is all of your stratagems are only good on Knob and Mega Knob squads. So if you're doing all of this funky cunning stuff to bring a bunch of war bosses and things, know that you're not going to be able to use a whole lot of stratagems. Now, I don't think that's the worst deal. You still have, obviously, the core rulebook stratagems. You know, you've got your command point reroll and your heroic intervention, things like that. But your actual army ones, remember that you don't get the ones from the other detachments. You only get the stratagems from your detachment. And so those stratagems are only going to affect knobs and mega knob units in this detachment. So you do want to load up as much as you can on knobs, if you want to actually be able to use those stratagems. So without further ado, here it is, old Big Mek's completely idealized 2,000 point Bully Boyz list. Let's get into it. All right, first of all, we're going to take us a big boss, or a beast boss. He's going to be on foot, and he's going to take the biggest boss enhancement, so that we can try to, or actually, this is the one that's going to give him the +2 wounds, just because we had 10 points left. If you didn't want to do that, and you wanted to go the other way around and run the Big Gob, that would be great too. But we're going to put him with a squad of 20 Beast Boys in a Hunter rig. Now, the reason for this is important. It's a battle line unit that has great objective control. When you have the 20 beast snaggas with the beast boss on foot, they are really hard to delete off the board because of their ability to protect each other. Being in the hunter rig, you can move them around the board. The hunter rig itself is a big, dangerous thing in and of itself. This is going to attract a lot of firepower from your enemy. It is definitely going to get their attention when you have a model this big rolling around and they know it's full of 21 really big, mean, nasty orcs. Now, it's a ruse, though. It's a ruse. If they do get into contact with something and you can use that beast snag ability and like do anti-vehicle and big monster things, they are definitely going to screw some things up and have a good day. But what we're really doing is taking all of the heat away from the parts of the army that we really want to survive and putting it in something that's big and hard to kill and just going to attract all of the enemy attention so that you can get all of your knobs into combat. Okay, next. Beast Boss and Squigosaur. Again, kind of another distraction unit, only this one not really. So you can take a Beast Boss and Squigosaur, you're going to attach him to a full squad of Squighog boys, and they're going to go run around hunting tanks. Again, if they get ignored, they are an absolute threat. It is not a paper tiger. But if the enemy knows what Beast Nagas can do and knows what Beast Bosses can do, they are going to pour a bunch of firepower into them, and that is again going to make sure the rest of your army survives. Now, what is the rest of that army? Well, first of all, you need a war boss, right? We're going to take a war boss, we're going to give him the big gob, and we're going to set him with a weird boy, and we're going to put him in a 20 boy block. And we are going to use the jump, and we are going to jump that boy squad around, and we are going to Waaagh with them, and we're going to absolutely wreck some things, because when the war boss is on the Waaagh, he is nutters, and spreading his ability over the boys squad is way more attacks than spreading it over a knob squad. Plus, the war boss himself, he gets +4 attacks on the Waaagh. You are just going to wreck some things with that squad. So that main big block of squad, and again, you are absolutely going to control whatever objective you're next to with those guys. That is like the main chunk of your army. The other two parts of your army are going to be a second war boss, this time with 10 knobs. I personally would run like maybe 5 power claws and 5 twin kill saws, but whatever mix you want, but definitely all close combat. You don't want to really take any of the shooting stuff. We're not here to DACA. This is very much a close combat army, but this war boss and 10 knobs is running around in a truck. So the truck is going to be driving out there. They're going to disembark and move and advance and Waaagh and charge and get into the thick of things and just wreck some stuff with an elite squad of knobs. We're going to do a second identical squad of knobs with a pain boy with his garrote and a truck. And again, those ones are going to be a little bit more survivable. There's some room here to play. If you want to do 2 war bosses with knob squads instead, you totally have the points to do that. If you want to do 2 pain boys with the knob squads instead, there's absolutely points to do that. I can see either way, so I just kind of went with one of each for my idealized. Me personally, I'm probably going to take the 2 pain boy version. I think that that's the better call. I think always having that 5-up invul is better. I think being able to bring, D3 of them back to life is a good thing. And the knobs are just going to absolutely go wreck things coming out of those trucks. So those are your 2 main knob squads. Those are what you're going to be spending your stratagems on as you get into late game so that they can get in there and absolutely finish the job off. And then you're going to have 1 squad of grots sitting in the back on your home objective, farming a CP so that you have the ability to do those stratagems. Now, I know you're out there with your calculator going, 1, 2, 3 a lot, and you realize I'm not quite done yet. We haven't actually hit 2,000 points, and you are correct. The last unit that I have in this particular loadout is a Def Killer War Trike with 6 war bikes. Now, I know it's not another knob squad. And you're going, well, Big Mek, what are you talking about? Well, again, the Def Killer War Trike has the war boss keyword, so him and the squad of bikes, full 6 of them that he is taking along, are going to get a second Waaagh. Even though the stratagems and stuff aren't going to affect him, the fact of the matter is the Def Killer War Trike doesn't roll to advance. You just always get +6 thanks to the little grot fill with the gas can, right? That ability confers onto the squad as well. So you're getting 6 war bikes plus the Def Killer War Trike. They're going to move their either 12 or 14 inches plus the 6 on their advance, and then they're going to get to charge on the Waaagh. And you're going to get to do that twice in a game. So if you get them all the way across the board and they delete something, and then you call that second Waaagh and you need to get them across the board to the other side to delete something, they've got the horsepower to make it there. So again, when you're talking about competitive games, when you're talking about tournaments, when you're talking about winning missions that require you to go get objectives in no man's land, hold, different parts of the board, things like that, this is where mobility is key. So you've got 2 trucks running around with squads in them. You've got a hunter rig running around with a squad in it. You've got this bike squad running around. You've got the Squighog boys running around. Absolutely everything in this army moves a minimum of 10 inches when you start. They are absolutely going to go wild. They're going to wreck things. They are going to spread out all over the board and absolutely take it to the house. And if you are interested in this full list, I will actually have it as a pinned comment down in the comments below. It'll have the full 2K list so that you can look at it, see what all I'm getting on about, and you know, tweak it and use it however you feel like. If you want help with your list building, definitely come join us over on our Discord server. It's completely free. We don't pay wallet behind anything. There's a link down in the description below. Come on over, get into the Army Tactics little sub forum thing, and old Big Mek here will absolutely help you out on your specific army. Now, if you want to make this army a 1K army, I would mix it up a little bit. I would take out the Def Killa War Trike and the War Bikes. I think that's overkill for a 1,000 point army. I would take out the Beast Snagga, the big 20 Snagga unit, and the Hunter Rig. Again, that's gigantic. That's overkill for a 1K army. But you would keep the Gretchen, you would keep the Pain Boy with the 10 knobs in the truck, you would keep the War Boss with the 20 boy squad and the Weird Boy doing the jump, and then instead of doing the Beast Boss on Squigosaur, because the points kind of work out weird, you could switch him up to Mazrog Scragbad and run him with the Squidcog Boys, and I think that would make a really excellent 1,000 point version. Now, the great thing about this army is not only is it super competitive, it also is relatively decent to buy, because even though you need 20 Beast Snaggas and a Beast Boss on foot, you get those in the new Combat Patrol along with the Squighog Boys, right? And so that is a good chunk of army right out of that Combat Patrol. Same thing if you had gotten the Holiday Battle Force, you even have more of this because you've got the Kill Rig or / Hunter Rig model plus your Beast Boss on Squigosaur. So excellent, you know, being able to use those units that you can buy cheaper. Same thing on the regular boys squad, regular boys side of the army. If you just got the new Stompa Boys kit, you've got 20 boys, which is fantastic, and a truck. And if you've got the old Combat Patrol, guess what? You've still got 20 boys, right? So again, it's just a good way to kind of use a lot of units that are easy to get. Again, Gretchens are probably the cheapest unit left in the game at this point. So yeah, it really isn't that much to get a handle on. You don't have to buy that many units. You don't have to go buy a whole bunch of Mega Knob units. Now, I know probably a lot of you are gonna want to get into the comments and start arguing for Mega Knobs, and you know, you're probably right. Honestly, Mega Knobs are fantastic. They're probably overpowered. They're probably gonna get a points nerf, you know, in the next balanced data slate because they are so good. In this particular detachment, though, because your stratagems only affect knobs and Mega Knobs, I think sinking a whole bunch of points into Mega Knob units and then trying to get them to survive is a misnomer. Everybody is going to know to go after Mega Knobs, and they really don't hold up to concentrated fire that well. They don't, and you don't have really enough of them to do it. So again, unless you're putting it with a Big Mek that could bring some back to life and heal them and things like that, I just don't see them actually surviving, and that is a large chunk of points that is going to get deleted off the board. I think the regular knobs, who are way cheaper in points, and frankly, yeah, they're not as survivable when you target them, but if you have so many of them that the enemy can't target them and you distract the enemy with other units, you can get them into combat, and in combat, they are going to do just as much damage, if not more, just because you have more of them, but they're also going to kind of have some better survivability with that Pain Boy. So again, my army, I'm going to take lots of knobs, I'm going to take lots of Pain Boys, and I am going to ignore the Mega Knobs for this force, because I think that it's a false dichotomy. It's trying to get you to go there because you think like naturally that's where to go, and I think it's just too many points for what it is, and that they can't survive at that point level. All right, that's going to do it for this video. I hope it gave you a lot of things to think about with the Bully Boys. This is far from my only video. I am going to be doing one of these deep dives on each and every single detachment, along with a full list of what to get, what to buy, and what I think is the ideal build. So if you are interested in the new Orks and the Bully Boys build maybe isn't for you, or you are just interested in hearing all the other ones, definitely consider subscribing so that you don't miss out on any of those videos. Super extra special thanks to my patrons It's been a ride for sure. I appreciate each and every single one of you. If you like what you saw here and you want to support old Big Mek, there is a link down below to my Patreon. I only have the one level. It's only 5 teeth a month. I know things are hard out there. I know all of us are struggling, so I really try to keep it as low as possible, but literally every single one of those is an immense help to be able to do this project and be able to make these videos and put things out for you guys. So if you like that, definitely consider it. And while I don't paywall any of my content, I don't have any Patreon exclusive videos, there are things that are available to my paid patrons that aren't available to the general public or regular YouTube viewers, and that is some information, things like knowing where to order the reprint book for Waaagh Orks from Rogue Trader. That is something that we kind of keep exclusive to there because we don't want these guys to get in trouble. But also there is old Big Mek's bit delivery service. So basically what it is I sell 2 different kinds of bits. There's either completely unsorted or they're assorted. You tell me what you want, whether it's all orcs or you're doing Gene Stealer Cult or whatever. I will personally make bits per order for you, make bits, get bits to you. They are all 100% plastic, 100% Games Workshop, all legit bits. I have a huge bits collection. I have sources to go get more bits, and so I've been able to really put good bits together for everybody by the ounce so that they can go and convert their armies up, make them look really cool, build the special characters that they want to build for cheap, and that service is available by being a paid patron. So again, if it's something you're interested in, links down in the description below. All right, all you Mexican war bosses, grab your knobs, get out there, be some bullies, and let's get stomping and smashing and Waaagh on!